So to run one marathon in a year takes some doing. To do it 5, like Bill Griffin, is extraordinary. But when you add to the fact Bill, who's now 50, has had a number of heart attacks plus double bypass surgery, truly amazing. Bill's in the studio with me right now. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Lovely to see you. You've got your medals as well.
I have, yes.
It's fantastic when you finish a race, isn't it, to get a medal at the end. These are your 5 marathons that you've got. Let's just go through the races that you've done first, shall we? You can go medal by medal. What was the first one?
First one was Barcelona in March.
Right, so was that the one that was the biggest kind of psychologically, the one you thought, well, this is the one that I'm most kind of worried about?
To be honest, I didn't really think about it. I'd done Amsterdam in 2012. I just turned up and thought to myself, okay, this is it. Had a goal in mind, but the weather tended to beat us because it was very, very warm. It was 25 degrees. So I plodded, because I'm not a fast runner. I'm a runner, but I'm not a fast runner. And interestingly, I was only 45 seconds outside of PB.
Okay. What is your marathon PB?
5 hours and 45 seconds.
Wow, I know I do it running myself. Are you really frustrated you couldn't do it 46 seconds quicker?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yes. That's I know a friend of mine did, I think, the London Marathon, and ended up in the first aid tent at the end. He was trying to get, I think, under 3 hours, and he got like 3 hours and 10 seconds, and it just agony of that happening. But,
yes.
And I think just no matter how well runners do, I think in your head you just beat yourself up about the bit that didn't go well, or the bit you didn't happen. So Bill, were you always a fairly fit guy before you had the problem with your heart?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The heart problems came because of pneumonia.
Okay.
And not many people actually know that pneumonia can cause your blood to clot. Now, there's 3 areas it can clot: your brain, your heart, or your lungs. I got the easy one because it's operable.
Right.
Or it's easier to be operated on. Basically, I was decorator by trade. Working on a building site, chest infection, got the antibiotics, didn't go. Went back, yes, you've got pneumonia, you need to stop work. Being self-employed, that doesn't happen. Turned up to work the next day, real problems, called the doctor, he'll call you back. Drove in to go and see the doctor, queried, sent me to the hospital. As I was driving to the hospital, I had my first heart attack.
Right. So it was obviously that it was a heart attack, or did you just kind of wonder what the weird chest pain was?
No, I had done first aid for 14 years, so I knew exactly what it was. Central chest pain went down both arms. I knew as it stopped at my elbows I could carry on driving, because I was literally 2 minutes from the hospital. Drove in, left the vehicle at the 30-minute loading bay, walked into A&E and told them, and that was it, whisked off and up into CCU and what have you. Couple of stents, cleared it, sorted it. A month later, another one. So while I was still recovering, was out on my bike, because I'm a cyclist predominantly. Just a slight hill climb, not really anything major. And bang, second one, knew what it was, ambulance. Then I got about 18 months free. That was okay, but then I was taking GTN tablets just to keep going. And all I did was walk down the shops, walk back one day, walked up the stairs to the flat. Next thing I know, bang. And I just thought, yeah, okay. That was the third one, and they said, look, we just can't keep the right coronary artery open anymore. You need bypass.
How scary and how long did it take to get the bypass done and to get over?
Took 3 months to get the bypass because I couldn't sit. They said if I stayed in hospital, I would be transferred fairly quickly. 5 days in hospital did my head in. I couldn't sit still, so I discharged myself and said, call me when the appointment's ready. So it took 3 months to actually get the bypass surgery. It took 3 months to get over before I could go to work, but I wasn't allowed to go back to decorating, so I got a job at Cycles UK, where I currently work, in the city, which ties in my love of cycles as well.
Yeah.
Started getting back on the bike, started training again, getting fairly fit, and then 2010 I decided to do the Norwich 100 bike ride. So did a lot of publicity for the British Heart Foundation, who it's to raise money for, and then got challenged in 2011 to do a marathon and 100 in the same year.
Okay.
Hence 2012 did the Norwich 100 and the Amsterdam Marathon with very little training because I hated running.
I think the long run is the kind of the bane for the marathon running. You haven't got your Amsterdam Marathon there, have you? Got the 5
No,
done
I've just got the
this
5
year.
yeah.
So there's been some terrible cases this year. As we know, we lost Daryl Davis, as well known amongst the running community, for the round Norfolk relay earlier this year. I don't know what the autopsy's been, but possibly a heart problem that Daryl had, and there was somebody died at the end of the London Marathon, and I've seen other collapses this year, and it's starting to freak out a few people I know. So when you said you were going to do a marathon after having your heart problems, and with this in mind, because it seems to happen now and then, well, of course, people pass away during a race, didn't your family kind of know we're going to tie you to the chair?
My daughter knows me and knows how stubborn I am. That wasn't a problem. My mother, when I said, okay, I'm going to run 5 marathons next year, you're nuts. Why? Well, because of your heart. And I tried to explain to people, actually, I don't have a heart problem. I had a plumbing problem that has been fixed.
Right.
My heart is good. My heart is okay. I did have a bit of an argument with one of the nurses at the doctor's surgery because I stopped my beta blockers.
Okay.
Because, as the GP told me, it's like running around with a clamp around your heart. He said if I needed anything, I could have it. I still take medication, but it's more as a preventative rather than it's there to do a specific purpose. So I don't actually view myself as having heart disease. I don't view myself as having a heart problem. I'm just me. I go out and I ride as hard and as fast as I can. When I run, my training level's right up at my maximum. So I do everything as to my maximum. I do the best I can.
Do you wear a heart rate monitor when you exercise or train?
Sometimes. Not always.
So when you were doing the marathons, did you have kind of a point where you say, well, if I get any chest pain, I'm going to stop? Or did you have that kind of rule of the agreement with anybody, any of your loved ones?
Not really, because I mean, in training, to give you an idea, according to the official way of doing it, my maximum heart rate should be 171 beats a minute.
Right.
But running one of my training runs after 12 miles going up Harvey Lane, I hit 193. I felt perfectly fine. I've never had, since the bypass surgery, I have never, ever had any form of problem whatsoever.
So we had Barcelona to begin with, difficult because of the heat, and what was you got your times ingrained on your mind for that?
That was 5 hours, 15 minutes, and about 15 seconds, I think. I can't remember the seconds. I know it was 45 seconds after my PB.
So did you go out with the idea, okay, I'm going to pace myself to do, I don't know, 10, 30, 11-minute miles for that marathon, and just stick with that, or did you kind of go off at a reasonable pace, then walk a bit, run a bit?
I tend to set out too quickly anyway. I think most of us do. You get the adrenaline on the line and you just shoot off. To be honest, I just went out and ran it.
Okay.
I had ideas of minute miling and what I needed to do to beat my PB, but then when I saw the sunshine and how warm it was, especially once we got full sun, I just thought, okay, your challenge is to finish them. Your challenge isn't time, so that's what you've got to focus on. So I just went and ran it. I think there was a couple of times I walked towards the end where it just got a little bit too much with the heat. I know friends of mine were nearly an hour under his PB, and he walked a 20-minute mile. He said it's the first time he's seen his standard of runners walk at 18 miles.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't happen, but it was that hot, that much sunshine. So the fact I was only 45 seconds, I took that as a big plus.
Absolutely.
So no, that was nice. I loved Barcelona. Great course. Very, very flat. Very quick. If you get the rain like you can do in Barcelona, it would be a very, very fast run.
What comes after Barcelona?
Well, Barcelona was a training run for Bungee.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was my next marathon 3 weeks later.
It's hilly, isn't it?
It is hilly. I mean, everyone said it's hilly, and I know through runners, hilly to a runner isn't hilly normally. Everyone talks about the hill at the Norwich Half, and I used to say, well, where's the hill?
Yeah, okay.
And that's the gradient up at Easton College. But no, Barcelona was hilly. It's 2 laps. I didn't do much running between Barcelona and Bungee, maybe a 5-miler just to work the legs. And I felt awesome that day. I hit a PB on the half marathon at 2:16 and shot round, and I did get 22 miles. I did get some severe cramps. Had to walk about 1.5 miles to get my running legs back again. Finally got my running legs back, and I missed a PB by 9 seconds.
Oh, no. Did you do most of your training on the bike and then just to save your joints, and then go to just think I've got enough fitness there for the running, or did you have to do the long runs?
No, I had to do the long runs. I did Amsterdam. I did 6 training runs. That was it. I hated running at the time. It was a challenge. and I got to half marathon distance and thought, no, I'm going to carry on walking. So I relied on my cycle fitness for that. This time I knew I had to put the miles in the legs. So the longest, I did the Wyndham 20. That was my last race before Barcelona. I had to put those miles in.
Because that's slightly hilly, isn't it, the Wyndham 20?
It's
ideal there.
Yes, it's an interesting course. And with the wind as well at that time of year, that did make it quite difficult.
So we've gone from Barcelona to Bungay. So where do we go next?
We then went 7 weeks later up to Edinburgh.
Only 7 weeks, it's not long, is it?
Not much recovery time, but I planned it that way.
How was Edinburgh? I've heard mixed reviews on Edinburgh, because my sister's planned to do that next year, and then she looked at some of the reviews from other runners, and she said, what have I done?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the course. Not because it's hilly or anything like that, but I don't like predominantly out and back courses where you see people running against you. At mile 12, 13, something like that, I saw the leader come past.
Yeah.
And then predominantly more and more runners kept coming past. And there's a part of Edinburgh where you look into the distance, you can see 3 or 4 miles of runners going up, and you've got no idea where they turn round and they come back. And I found that psychologically the most difficult marathon. So
it's running a lot psychologically. The kind of the pain in your brain is worse than it is in your body sometimes.
For me, 80% of completing a marathon is mental. The 20% physical. You train your body to do it. You do your long runs. Whether you overtrain or undertrain is here or there. You know, some people I feel overtrain because they do these ridiculously long schedules, lots of core work and all the rest of it. But I'm not what I class as a proper runner. I'm someone who just turns up and runs. But yes, you have to put the miles into your legs.
Did you just run yourself, or did you have some help?
I'm a member of Norwich Road Runners,
okay.
And they have been an absolute godsend. Sometimes on a cold, wet Sunday morning, to know you're going to meet some friends and you're going to go and do 15, 20 miles, you know you've got some company.
Yeah, right.
So I don't talk a lot when I run. I tend to grunt, so they can talk to me, they can tell me anything, and I'll just listen and grunt yes and no. So they've been really, really good, and for the last one, they followed me quite closely as well, and sent messages of support, which I was picking up through emails while I was actually running.
Wow.
So that was good.
It's nice to take your phone with you.
I did, I had my phone with me, mainly just to keep in contact. I didn't need it because I had my Garmin for the timing.
Sure.
But yes, I kept getting emails of messages from people on Facebook, so that was really, really nice.
So what was marathon number 4?
Marathon number 4 was, I had 6 weeks off in the summer, did a parachute jump. Because what I did was I set out to do marathons close together, so I only did one lot of training, and then the marathons were training for the following marathons. Then I took 6 weeks off, so give me legs a rest. Jumped out of a plane and then started training again, and that was Berlin.
Okay, lovely. I think Berlin is supposed to be a bit of a flatter course to run.
It is very, very flat. It is very, very fast. The world record went again this year. It went last year and it went again this year. So this medal is actually 3 hours out of date, because when I crossed the line, that isn't the world record on that side. It's now a new world record. So
you've got a former world record holder on the medal, and then you've got the German flag colours.
That's it, yeah. And that was I love the German people. They were really, really nice. Fantastic support all the way through, and that was a nice one to do. To run through the Brandenburg Gate, see the finish line was very, very special.
Is it difficult to get into these marathons? Is it like some kind of selection process, or can you?
For most of them, no. I mean, I could probably enter all of them now. I think the closing date for Berlin is very, very soon, if not already gone. That's a ballot process that's done via emails.
Right.
So last year they had just over 70,000 people enter it. The first 40,000 got their email on the 1st of November to say, yes, you're in. And then 12 days later, I got an email this particular time to say that I'd got in. So it is an email, it is a ballot process, but you don't pay anything until you're actually definitely confirmed as being in.
You've run marathons, jumped out of a plane. Are you doing this for a charity as such, or just for your own enjoyment?
This was for me for getting older, to celebrate turning 50. I'm not quite, you said I was 50, I'm not 50 yet.
All right.
That's not till December. But I thought, people go on holiday, people do things to celebrate their 50th. I've actually got a 50th birthday party to go to this week. A friend of mine from the running club has turned 50 today, so happy birthday, Sally. But yes, she is having a party. I didn't want to party, I didn't want to go off somewhere. I just thought, what can I do? And I've got a Facebook page, Turning 50 and Running 5 Marathons. It's a blog about getting older. It's about running the marathons and about the challenges involved. So yeah, it was just purely and simply to have a fantastic year. My 50th year on the planet was going to 4 different European capital cities, seeing them and run a marathon at the same time.
And then the 5th one was in Dublin, just what, 2 weeks ago, last week?
Last week before, Monday, it was last Monday. Last Monday, the 27th of October.
And did you not break your toe before this one?
I did.
How did that happen?
Well, as you know, and I haven't written the blog for it yet, but getting older, we tend to, us chaps, have to get up in the middle of the night for a comfort break.
Right.
And that's what I did in the hotel, first night there, and as I walked back to the hotel bed, I didn't realise the black space underneath the bed wasn't hollow, it was solid, and I kicked the bed.
Ooh, so it was just before the race?
3 days.
Yeah, wow.
3 days before the race, and I heard it crack, I knew it had broken. I collapsed on the bed, and I just thought, okay, look at it in the morning, see what the damage is. And looked at it in the morning, saw the bruising, I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. Went for a walk that day with my running shoes on, and I ran about 20 yards just to see, and I thought, actually, it doesn't feel that painful. Actually felt worse to walk than it did to run. So I thought, this is doable. And I believe you've done a marathon, haven't you?
I did London this year, yeah.
Yeah, and you can convince yourself of being able to do absolutely anything. And I had convinced myself from the Friday, walking on it on the Saturday, I convinced myself not only could I run this marathon, I could get a massive PB and run in 4.5 hours. That's how much my brain convinced my body it was going to do it. And I set off at that pace as well.
But I think, again, Dublin's not the easiest of courses, is it? I understand there's a couple of big hills there.
They're not long, but they are steep. So if you take Harvey Lane, and take the hardest part of Harvey Lane, and that distance, that's about how long they are. They are quite punishing hills. One comes at 7 miles, and I think one came at about 14 miles. And they are difficult. Because they are so steep, lots of people did walk up them.
Yeah, right, yes. It's not something you want to do as a runner, but sometimes it's unavoidable.
Absolutely. There were some nice downhill sections as well. There was that as well. I mean, I prefer to run uphill than downhill. I just tend to let gravity take its course and just open the stride up downhill. But no, the actual uphills and the wind this year made it particularly tough. We run through a park for about 3 miles, maybe 4 miles. It's absolutely fantastic. The scenery is brilliant, but the wind coming across you just tended to take the stuffing out of you a little bit. And a lot of people that have done it year on year actually said that was the hardest year they've ever run Dublin.
Was there ever a time in any of those races where you thought, I won't finish, I'm not going to be sensible here, things are hurting too much? Because it does hurt to run that distance.
The last one.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've ever thought I might not be able to finish this. Partly because I don't know if it was the toe, whether I just didn't have the legs, too many marathons, whether I was overcompensating in the way I ran, but I got to half distance and I thought, this is hurting more than it should. Got to 15 miles and I actually sent a tearful voicemail to my daughter and said, look, please tell people I'm not going to get a sub 5, I'm not going to get a PB, I am struggling, I'm just going to try and finish. And I thought, I've got 2 choices. At the time I was running 4.5 hour pace, and I thought, I've got 2 choices. Keep going, but I might not actually do it, or slow down, walk a bit, run a bit, walk a bit, run a bit, and do it that way, just purely and simply to finish. And I decided in the end, finishing was more important than about time.
Did you have a favourite out of those 5? Bill, the one that's got the fondest memories for you?
That's hard because the actual marathons, no. My favourite marathon's always my next one. But from cities, I did love Dublin. I love Barcelona and I love Berlin. And Edinburgh as well, the people were wonderful. I can't say I've got an absolute favourite, one that stood out, because all 4 cities I'd love to go back and see.
And what's next? Have you got a marathon plan for next year?
Not as yet. I'm in the club ballot for London. Okay. If I get into London, I've never run London before, I've never entered it before until this year. So if I get into that, then I will run that for the club. If I don't get into that, I don't know. I would like to do the Round Norfolk Relay because I've never ever done that before and I've never been able to help out because of work. So that is something that I'd like to do, book the holiday, get that done and sorted so that I can enter and do and take part in what is the biggest race in Norfolk.
Okay, fantastic. Lovely to see you. Really inspirational to meet you. I love your thoughts that you've got. There's nothing wrong with your heart. It was just a plumbing, because that's a good way to think, and hopefully that's inspired people who, I don't know, perhaps they thought their heart wouldn't hold out, but once they've had that surgery, should be good enough to an active life, if not a marathon. Is there some advice that you give to people? Just perhaps how to live their lives if they're thinking about doing something active?
For me, I've just always been positive. Can't do it, won't do it is not an option. It's a case of, okay, I can do this. How long is it going to take me to get it achieved?
Sally got in touch. Sally says, nice to hear from you, Sally. Thank you for getting in touch. She says, Bill was insane to stop taking his beta blockers. Big respect to him. So,
well, I can understand that, but I did actually go and see the doctor. Despite an argument with the nurse, I did go and see the doctor, and he said he totally agreed with me. He was a half marathon runner, and his first question to me was, what time did I do in the 2011 half marathon? And he said to me that it's not a problem. It is, beta blockers restrict your heart rate. The heart is a muscle. To be able to train the heart, you need to be able to push the heart. Beta blockers stop that, so you could only get to a certain training level, and that wasn't good enough at the time. I was cycle racing still. So I just found I had a cap on my heart rate that just meant that I got to the point where I got so breathless I had to slow down, otherwise I couldn't continue. I can understand that, but there are other things they can give you apart from beta blockers.
Bill, thank you so much for coming in today. People in the office got very excited to see your medals, so can you go and show them to them again as you leave the building today? That's Bill Griffin there, who's a marathon runner extraordinaire.